Hi everyone, this is Sinan from Car Inspected. 217,000 on the clock. Transmission is slipping when on the highway. And got a low mileage transmission. I've made a couple of videos. I'll probably link them in the description section wherever you're watching this. You'll see me inspecting the transmission before installation, just to see if it is in fact a low mileage. I did get it from a reputable auto recycler. It was shipped from coast to coast. I did contact Gary Ferrero, who's stationed in New York. He's in Long Island. He is an expert when it comes to these transmissions. This one is a ZF 6 HP 21X. This one is a 2010 BMW 535i XDrive. I only got the transmission. I didn't get the transfer case, but I contacted Gary asking him for some advice. He was very helpful. He responded right away. I highly recommend his service if you're in need of this work, or rebuilt a transmission or anything related to these ZF transmissions. And he does a lot of other transmissions, by the way. So he does Mercedes, BMW, Range Rovers, Audis. So he does the ZF and he does other transmissions as well. Really good at what he does. He has a lot of teardown videos where he shows you what he's doing, which is something that's very rare to find. So we're about to start working on this transmission, on the replacement. Basically what Gary advised is to do a few replacements on some of the parts, like a brake seal and filter and oil, and slap in the transmission and see how it goes. So we're about to do that. I'm gonna walk you through the process to the best of my ability. So I'm going to be renting a hoist, and I'll be working on the car there. There will be a lot of noise, but I'll do my best to explain as much as I can. All right, we'll see you soon. All right, here we are, guys. Under the car, exhaust is off, so I had to remove the studs. And I found this to be loose for some reason, so I'm going to tighten it. One heat shield, or two heat shields, are off. They're right there. This one, 10mm and 8mm with several extensions. This one covers the side of the transmission, so it goes on like so. Well, more like so. Oh, actually this way. There you go. And when you remove it, you'll be able to see here. I removed the exhaust. It was relatively straightforward. You need help. I have some long extensions waiting to be used. I loosened these bolts that hold this, but if you notice, it goes below the transfer case. So if I was to lay down the transfer case, it will be a problem. So you need to open these two bolts anyway, because this is a bracket. It needs to come off. Otherwise, you're gonna be sitting on it, and you won't be able to remove the transmission or the transfer case mount, which is the transmission mount. Here's the transfer case from the back. This is the guibo. And we're about to remove the more heat shields to access the drive shaft. I'm going to be removing this front drive shaft as well. Of course, mark it before you remove it. I highly recommend that you mark it so that when it goes back, you won't have to worry about any alignment issues or anything like that. Some bolts are completely worn out. You see, this one is, there's nothing left of the nut. Completely gone. Completely. I mean, look. Well, I'm gonna have to source out a nut for this one. There's the other one. It's is gone as well. Well, yeah, it is gone, but it's still somewhat holding, so I'm gonna have to deal with this one somehow. Not sure how, because it holds these bolts in place. Well, the bracket, if you really pay attention, you'll see that it loops at the top and then it goes down. There. You see that? The bracket goes on like this and then like that. So one of them is loose. You gotta deal with that one. Not sure how yet. And removing the oxygen sensor bracket as well. But the exhaust is these two bolts. There are these two bolts, and then there's the bracket here which has 4 bolts. The bracket looks like this, very rusty, so I'm gonna look for a replacement. I have new gaskets for the installation, the gaskets that go here. Make sure you get them, because if the car has high mileage, this one just completely disintegrated as I removed it. So yeah, the bracket here, then we move more back. That's a 19 millimeter, I believe. It's either an 18 or a 19 millimeter, so make sure you have that. Then there are, well, where are they? Yeah, there are 2 nuts here, 13 mil. There's 1 nut here, 13, and you have the vacuum. Need to clean this up before it goes back in. So yeah, we'll continue working. The next target would be to remove the drive shaft, of course, after removing the heat shield. Not sure why this is wet, but we'll see. Here's the cable for the emergency part, or the emergency release. I didn't activate it. I don't know if that's a mistake or not. We're gonna find out. But there is a way that you can activate it from the car. Basically, just pull, but I didn't do it. I will hold this, because right now, you see, this doesn't move. But if I was to, let's see if I can do it. There. Yeah, now, see, it's moving until it clicks back. So if I need to rotate, I just hold this and rotate until I remove all the bolts. But that, I'll get there eventually. For now, unplug these, loosen the bolts here. Just loosen them, not remove them, just loosen them to know that I can actually remove them. And remove the heat shield and remove the drive shaft. I will check back a little bit later as the catalytic converter is there. Yeah, we'll see you soon. I'll keep you updated. So we're back. I'll show you the progress so far. We have a transmission hoist about to hold the transmission and the torque, or the transfer case in place. I loosened all of these just to make sure that I can remove them. Unplug these. Remove the safety for the park release. Remove the bracket that you might remember from earlier. Disconnected 2. There's one here. Very hard to see. Don't try to move it. I disconnected the mechatronics connector there. It's a twist type connector. Relatively easy, you just twist it and then pull it out. It does have a seal, if you notice, so it won't just simply come off. That orange is a seal. You need to like pry on it just lightly and it'll come off. And then you see it's tight to get my hand in there. Then next thing I did is I removed the fill plug because I'm gonna remove this transmission oil pan, because I need to empty out the fluid before I drop it. Drive shaft, or yeah, I removed it from the I removed the entire thing, guibo and all. I had a little bit of a challenge here because you can see the rust is around. I did spray it with WD-40 and it did work. This is the other surface here. I basically used this to hit onto the with a pry bar. Just hit it and made sure that you don't damage anything here. This is a joint. This is a joint as well. And all right. What else? Disconnected here. I found out that I need to remove this and this. I also need to remove the transmission cooler lines. There is a bolt here, I believe is a 13 mil, and then there's a connector here that goes into the oil pan. You can remove it from here, or you can just loosen up. I think I'm just gonna remove it from here. It's just much easier. No, I can't. So it's actually this one that's gonna take it off completely. I'll try to do that. I think that will be the easiest, because once I remove this, I'm gonna need to pry out. I'm gonna start removing the oil pan, empty out the fluid, set up the transmission jack onto here, and start to drop just to see clearances, etc. And I'm gonna be starting with the hard bolts, which are on the top. And of course, disconnecting this. I'll check back with you in a little bit, but that's where we are so far. Just trying to keep record of all of the bolts and where they go. So these two E10s, they go there and there. Of course, holding this in place if you need it for putting things back later. Then there's another which we're going to be opening. There's an 18 here, E-Torx. But again, I'm going to start going from the top, work my way down. There's a bracket here that holds the O2 sensors in place, so I'm going to have to remove it, or simply just, they're pinched in there, so I'm going to see what to do. Maybe I'll just remove the entire bracket, because I don't think I have this in the other transmission. So I'm going to have to transplant it here. Okay. That one is a T14. So one small one, big, 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 then straight, and then T14. This is the aluminium bolt. So you start from the bottom on the driver's side. So this one is one, then this one, then a big one, and then the aluminium one here, right at the starter entrance. Okay. Transmission is out. Dowel pins came out with one. One came with a transmission and one stayed in the engine. The bolts were relatively easy. The hardest one is that one over there. It's a Torx 14 in my car. I left this bolt which holds the oil cooler line in place. I'm gonna have to remove this rust because I'm gonna need to install a new bolt. This is what's left of a bolt. I tightened this as well, so the oxygen sensor is in place. Transmission is out. There is no metal shavings or anything in there. The torque converter decided to stay at the flywheel, which made my life significantly more difficult. Here's the new transmission. I transferred the transfer case, 6 bolts, 1, 2. This one is a tricky one. Or no, it's the one in the middle. This one, that's 3, 4, right here, 5, and 6. These are all E14. Smooth transplant, and it just went in from one into the other. Putting the wires all on the side. So, looking at the transmission here, that I believe is a 14, 18, 18, 18, 18 I believe. This is a 10, 10, 10. I think it's a 14 here. It's either, yeah, this one is a 14, this one is an 18. And that's the bolt that is for the starter. It comes out of the starter. And you don't interfere. I mean, the starter stays in place, you can see it. All right, we're prepping for install. Here we go. So the transmission is in place, but then, I mean, this is reopening it. I filled it up with fluid. I closed it up, filled it up with fluid. New oil pan, new filter, new brake seal. Put everything back, and then it started gushing fluid from here. It was just dripping and dripping. So I think it's the rear main of the. This is what it is. That's the original supplier, and this is the old one. I mean, both are identical. I destroyed it by removing it, obviously. So what I did is I put these screws here. I just worked them in. There was about this much distance, so don't be afraid to like drill. Like, you can go this far without touching anything. So I drilled, and then I used the screwdriver and I just pried it out. Make sure you don't scratch any surfaces. And then to drive in the new one, I had to, I basically used the old one and I tapped it, made sure that it's flush. Well, it's recessed a little bit. I'm just passing my finger across to see if it's good. So far it looks good. I don't see anything alarming. And if you notice, there is a little bit of play in the shaft anyway. I hope that this is normal. And yeah, we'll put her back together and see where this goes. I didn't need to drain fluid. It leaked probably a liter, if not more, from here. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna put everything back and hope that it works smoothly. Okay. Okay, this is an investigation of why my transmission failed. So I believe this is the A drum. I removed the stator or the pump, and then I pulled the first drum, which I think is the A drum, where the E, or the A clutch, where the E clutch sits in. So A clutch is out. It seems to be relatively okay. You can see that one looks fine to me. I'm keeping it in order. But then the E clutch, there is a little bit of a play. So when I remove it, seems to be fine here. But then that's bearing, and that's the bushing. There might be excessive play in that bushing. And this is E-clutch. So you can see here the color difference already. You can see the flaking and the E-clutch here. The steel is okay. This one is flaked off. You can see the more I look, the darker it gets. Here and here and here. See, the metal looks okay, and the way you can tell is you're basically looking for any lip in here or any strange wear. The clutch is burnt, and that's what was causing the clutch monitoring codes. At least this is as far as I can see. Okay, I'm gonna put it back together later, but I wanted to show you these bushings. So if I was to rebuild this, for example, I'd have to change these bushings here and here, and the bushing at the pump, and replace the clutch. That would be the minimum. I'm gonna try to... there's a lot of play. Okay, well, let's see if I remove this, what would happen? Oh yeah. I don't know if that is too much, but it sure feels like too much. Well, I hope this helps someone out there. Let's put this back. There you go. And that's why my transmission was slipping. Clutch E is burnt. Bushing is loose. Clutch A, which did give me a monitoring code, is not affected. It seems to be fine. But it could be that clutch E is slipping and it's not able to hold pressure, and it's causing something to cascade into clutch A. Okay,